Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video is going to be my Sorry Picks by TBR for the month of June. So if you have not been here before or seen this game, this is basically the way I pick my TBR every single month. I go around the board, sorry, I start on the space I landed on last time, I pick my first card and it tells me how many books I'm going to be reading or how many cards I'm going to be pulling, and then I pull that many number of cards and go around the board and pick a book based on the prompts that I land on. If I pull a sorry card, I have to add another book, and if I go all the way home, then I get to pick something out of the rewards jar. I'm still on hiatus from using punishments because I did just graduate law school. I've been out of town all month, and I am currently working on studying for the bar, so I'm not really committed to finishing all of these books. This is just a fun way for me to fill out my TBR for the month so I don't have to make that many decisions. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I am planning on participating in Whatever You Want-a-thon or WHATEVERATHON, which is hosted by Book Browsing Blog here on YouTube. I will link her channel down below. There's also like Discord and all that information. You join a team if you're not familiar with this readathon. I'm not going to explain all the rules, but basically you join a team and you get a bingo board based on the team that you join. But the premise of the readathon is that you can read whatever you want. So while I will be trying to sort of get a bingo if I can and looking for ways to do that, I did not actually think about my bingo board when I was creating this TBR, and I'm not being that hard on myself if I don't fulfill the prompts. I believe I've committed to doing 8 or 10 books this month, which isn't that hard for me because I usually do listen to quite a few books on audio. They're just not always the books that I put on my TBR. So now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and do the first card draw and see how many books I'm going to be reading and what the first book is going to be. So we are starting back on nonfiction down here, and let's see how many books we're going to read this month. 7. First prompt, move forward 8. And that's a thriller. So I pulled a 7, so I'm going to be reading 7 books at least in the month of June, and the first prompt that I landed on was to read a thriller. And for this, I chose In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead, which I was going to choose a different book. One of the prompts for WHATEVERATHON is read a host's favorite book, and the Riley Sager book I was hoping to read was one of their favorite books. It was not in my library, so I thought, you know what, I'll just pick something that is there, and I saw this on the way out and thought that this sounded really good. I heard a lot of people talking about this recently, last year maybe, but I believe this is like a dark academia-inspired book, sort of told in 2 timelines, and I think it's like 10 years past college graduation, a bunch of college friends get back together, and 10 years ago, one of their friends was murdered, and now they're sort of figuring out who murdered that friend, and I think someone might have gone to jail for it, but they're not the one who actually did it. So I am really excited to read this. Like I mentioned, I did hear a lot of people talk about this, and it definitely intrigued me, so I hope I enjoy this one. Prompt 2, move forward 3, collection of short stories or just a short story. The second prompt that I landed on was to read a collection of short stories or just a short story, and for this I am going to read a whole collection. This is Days of Awe by A.M. Holmes, and this is supposed to be wild and funny, questioning and true. I don't know that much about what this is about, but I will read you the inside cover. Oh, it comes with a bookmark in it. That's so funny. It says, with her signature humor and compassion, A.M. Holmes explores the heart of an uneasy America in her new collection. Peering into our marriages, our families, and our secret histories, she explores our attachments to one another through characters who aren't quite who they hoped to become, though there is no one else that they can be. That was a mouthful, I apologize. But I am excited to read this. I've heard good things about this author, but I've never read anything by her, so I'm looking forward to this one. Next is move forward 1, so that puts us in the safe zone, and that is to read a fantasy. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a fantasy, and for this, I'm kind of cheating, but I'm going to be reading The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki because I want to read some of the shortlisted Women's Prize books, and this is one of them. This is technically literary fiction with magical realism elements because I believe it contains a book that communicates with a boy. I think what this is about is a young boy's father has died, and this book explores him like going through grief and the loss of his father, and he starts to hear voices, and I think that a book is talking to him. I'm not fully sure if that's what happens in this, but I hope that's sort of close to right. And again, I'm counting this as fantasy because this is my game and I can do whatever I want. Move backwards 4. Back on thriller. So the next prompt that I landed on was thriller yet again, and for this I'm going to be reading Still Lives by Maria Hummel, and this came out 2018 maybe? My library got it in September of 2018. I'm not sure when it came out, but it came out at some point before that. And I've been wanting to read it since I first heard about it. it basically follows this artist who has this exhibit that she's supposed to be going up. I don't know if it's like performance art or if it's just like recreations of things, but she basically recreated a bunch of famous murder victims in like an artistic way, and before her exhibit goes live, she goes missing. And so it follows a couple of different suspects. Like one is her ex-boyfriend, who I think is also a gallery owner, and another is like another artist. And it sounds really, really interesting, and it definitely has like a feminist touch because it is about like, it's like her utilizing the fact that our society kind of fetishizes the murder of women, and like women's deaths. And I've read books that sort of analyze that before. One of them was Dead Girls. I can't remember the author, but I will try to link it down below. And that had a really interesting essay about Twin Peaks and the fascination with Laura Palmer, and how we use, like, Laura Palmer was kind of the main character of that show, even though she's not a character of that show because she died before the show even started. And I personally love Twin Peaks, and I thought it was a really interesting way to like analyze sort of how you look at the media that you're presented with. But I'm really excited to see what this book has in store because it sounds sort of along a similar vein. Move forward 7 or split the move between 2. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope, can you split it? That's to read a YA. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a YA book. And for this, I was going to read something different, but again, I came across this and I'm a little late for AAPI month, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, I think is May. So I'm late for that, but I am planning on reading 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, which is by multiple authors. It's edited by Ellen O and Elsie Chapman. It is 15 retellings of Asian myths in short story form. So I'm really excited to read this. I don't know off the top of my head very many like Asian myths. So I'm really excited to learn about some. Because I feel like I'm pretty familiar with like Greek and Roman myths just because that's sort of what I was taught in like classics in both high school and college and junior high really. And there's a lot of like children's literature about those things, so it's sort of integrated into the society that I'm a part of, whereas Asian mythology is not as much, and I'm excited to learn more about it. Move forward 8, we can't move. Move forward 2, and that's home. So we're gonna start with blue next, and you guys will get a reward, or I will get a reward, I guess I should specify, from the rewards jar. Sorry, add an extra card. So now we need to pick 8. Move forward 1. A book in a series. And then I did land on the home space, so we are going to get a reward. And I also pulled a sorry, which means that we are going to be adding an extra book. But first, let's pull the reward from the rewards jar. All right, so we're going to do this. Ooh, it's another giveaway. Ooh, the lighting got weird. Okay, so this says giveaway. Ooh. What I'll do is I'll have you comment down below whatever you want to enter the giveaway. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure you like this video. And then I'm going to put my email address, or I'm going to make an email address for the giveaway. I'll have that in the description box. And if you email me your if you email me your Amazon wish list, I will buy something off your wish list. Make sure that your wish list is public. Or like shareable or whatever, and also make sure that you have your address in there correctly, because it's not going to give me your address, but Amazon will have your address so that I can like directly ship you the book, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'll do a giveaway and I'll just pick something off of your wish list, so also make sure that it's up to date. But if you would like to enter that giveaway, again, I will have all these details in the description box. But subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave a comment down below, any comment, and then separately send me an email. And maybe in the subject line of the email, have your YouTube name so that I know that you commented and did all the things you're supposed to do. And yeah, this video is going up on Sunday, May 29th, so I will announce the winner I will pick a winner, how about, at midnight on midnight of June 6th. So make sure you email me and do all the stuff before June 6th. I'll call it Central Time. I live in Central Standard Time in the US, so that's the time zone that we're going to do this in, and yeah, good luck. And then I landed on the prompt fantasy, which is perfect because, as you know, I'm trying to read the entire Cosmere in publication date order, and the next book on my list is Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson, which is the, 5th book in the Mistborn series, I think. It's the 2nd book in Era 2, Wax and Wane, which, if you don't know what this series is about, I feel like I can't say too much about it. This is The Era 2 I like less than Era 1. Era 1 is more like classic fantasy setting. This is like a steampunk fantasy setting, which isn't terrible. It's my first encounter with it, but it's not something that I'm like drawn to naturally because there's like guns and trains and like, I don't know. It's not like my favorite thing. It's almost like a Western fantasy, if that makes sense. Like a Western movie fantasy, which is not my favorite thing. But I do like Brandon Sanderson's writing. I like the characters that he introduces in here, and I was very intrigued by the way the first one ended and how that plot sort of went. And this basically follows a magic system where people have the ability to like ingest different metals, and then they have powers based on that. I'm not going to say anything else about this because I don't want to spoil the first series in this series or anything that happened in the first book in the second era of this series. So, but yes, I will be reading that this month. Move backwards for sci-fi. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a sci-fi book, and for this, I'm going to be reading Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. I've read one Marisha Pessl book before, but it was an adult thriller by her called Night Film. And that book I thought was too long and just not that good. It just didn't really grip me the way that I wanted it to. I think part of the problem with that book, I mentioned this when I reviewed it, was that it's a mixed media book. And I listened to it as an audiobook, which I don't think was the most effective way to do that, but I did not know it was mixed media until I was looking at reviews from people, so I had no idea. But this book is, I believe, YA. This is a YA book, and I think it's about a girl who gets stuck in a time loop, which is a trope that I really enjoy. I don't know much more about it than that, but I think she is stuck in a time loop, and that's the sci-fi element. And I'm very excited to read this because that's the kind of sci-fi element that I enjoy. Move forward 12. A new release. Final prompt that we landed on was to read a new release. And this book came out in 2021, but I count new releases as coming out within the last calendar year. And I think this came out in September or August of 2021. Oh, there's bookmarks in here too. Yeah, boy. This book, I should tell you what it is. This is Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. This is also nominated for the Women's Prize for Fiction. Again, I wanted to read some of the nominees, or some of the short list, I suppose. But this, I think, is like a contemporary. I'm going to read you the inside cover because I don't know that much about what this is about. But it said, Martha Friel just turned 40. Once she worked at Vogue and planned to write a novel. Now she creates internet content. She used to live in a pied-à-terre in Paris. Now she lives in a gated community in Oxford. The only person she knows without a PhD, a baby, or both, in a house she hates but cannot bear to leave. But she must leave now that her husband Patrick, the kind of man who cooks, throws her birthday parties, loves her, and has only ever wanted her to be happy, has just moved out. Because there's something wrong with Martha, and has been for a long time. When she was 17, a little bomb went off in her brain and she was never the same. But countless doctors, endless therapy, and every kind of drug later, she still doesn't know what's wrong, why she spends days unable to get out of bed and alienates both strangers and her loved ones with casually cruel remarks. She has nowhere to go except her childhood home, a bohemian, dilapidated townhouse in a romantic, run-down part of London, to live with her mother, a minorly important sculptor and major drinker, and her father, a famous poet, though unpublished. She must try to survive without the fiercely loving and foul-mouthed sister who made all the chaos bearable back then and is now too busy or too fed up to deal with her. But maybe, by starting over, Martha will get to write a better ending for herself and find out she's not quite finished after all. So, I personally love a coming-of-age story, specifically an older person coming-of-age story, because there's something so, like, fulfilling as an adult to read about other adults who also don't have their shit together, because I don't have my shit together. So I hope I enjoy this. I have heard very mixed things about it, actually, but I think it sounds like something that I could potentially like if it's written the right way. That's it, though. Those are the, 8 books that I'm planning on reading in the month of June. I have a couple of things, like sneaky things up my sleeve that I might include in June if I have time. Again, I'm always listening to audiobooks, so I'll be trying to do that as well. Let me know in the comments down below what you are planning on reading in June, and also let me know if you've read any of these books and how you felt about them. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you would like to, you can subscribe to my channel. It's free, and I post 1 to 2 videos every single week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!